Dan Dickau here for Gonzaga Nation SI. It is the WCC Weekly. Give you a quick recap of the previous week, as well as a look ahead to the week that is to be. Spotlight a couple teams, couple performances, but another great week if you like good basketball in the WCC. What was starting to look like SMC, St. Mary's, running away with the league title. Doesn't look that way anymore because LMU knocked off St. Mary's at Gersten Pavilion in LA, setting up as long as St. Mary's holds true to what they look like they can do, as well as Gonzaga taking care of business. Will be a monumental game to wrap up the regular season, February 25th in Spokane when St. Mary's plays there. But St. Mary's still in the lead, 11-1, Gonzaga 10-2. Then my next tier for this week, where I see separation, is Santa Clara at 7-5 and LMU at 7-6. Santa Clara 3 straight wins after being beaten in Spokane by Gonzaga. They've got a tough road to finish in the WCC regular season, as 3 of their last 4 are on the road. LMU, on the other hand, we talked about that big win against St. Mary's really quickly. They weren't able to keep that momentum going by going up to Santa Clara and losing to the Broncos. But to me, those are those two next level teams right now in the league. And the reason it's important is because depending on matchups and who you like and who would you rather play against, whether it's Gonzaga as the 1 seed, if that becomes true, or St. Mary's as the 1 seed, do you want to be on one side of the bracket in the conference tournament? Because if you're 1 or 2, you get a double bye, so it doesn't impact your net too much. But that's important to see that Santa Clara and LMU have kind of distanced themselves right now. Now Pacific at 6-6 can creep in there, but that's a tall ask right now. They've been shooting the ball really well. They're focused on the offensive end, knocking down a lot of threes. They can give a lot of teams fits with the way that they're playing right now, but I don't see them cracking into that top 4. BYU's a possibility. They're sitting at 6-7. They came to Gonzaga and played the Zags tough, but again, they just couldn't get over the top and get that win. So Portland at 5-8 and USF at 5-8 are also kind of in that third tier of teams this year in the way I look at it. And then the bottom of San Diego at 4-9 and Pepperdine at 2-9 are the other teams that I think are clearly at the bottom of the league. USD has shown a lot of fight and a lot of resiliency. Marcellus Earlington has played really well throughout the year. Jace Townsend has had some really nice games, but that hasn't translated to wins just yet. Pepperdine is looking much better the last 2 weeks or so. They've got 2 wins, including a game against Pepperdine, but things don't get much easier this week as they host Santa Clara, and then Gonzaga is in Malibu as well. So good previous week with the action. When I think back and look at last week's games, the ones that were important outside of Gonzaga, if you're listening to this podcast, this video, you know that you're probably a Gonzaga fan, and you know what happened on San Francisco game on Thursday, where a lot of guys played well. Hunter Salas played well, Drew Timme played well, Anton Watson played well. They put up 99 points. And then the game against BYU, where it always seems to be a battle. They got through that one. But the big games in the past week weren't having to do with Gonzaga. To me, it was LMU beating St. Mary's. Cameron Shelton did a lot of the things that he did in Spokane to kind of knock off St. Mary's. He controlled the game. He was the best player on the floor down the stretch. He made big plays. And then the other one is that second tier of teams battling it out, Santa Clara and LMU. It was in Santa Clara, and they were able to hold serve on their home court. Brandon Pajimski had 30 points. I believe it's his 4th time this year going for 30 or more. He had 20 in the loss early in the week for Santa Clara. In their first win of the week, Pajimski had 20. So if I'm going to pick a player of the week, it's easy to go Cam Shelton, but I would say I'm going to go with Brandon Pajimski of Santa Clara. He had a 20-point game and then a 30-point game. They won both games, sitting in 3rd in the league right now. Looking forward to this week. You know, Gonzaga and St. Mary's, they can't kind of fall on their end of the bargain to make that last finale. It's a unbelievably big game, a game that I think, in looking at all of college basketball, I wouldn't be surprised if ESPN Game Day showed up for that one. If St. Mary's wins their next three, if Gonzaga wins their next three, I think it's that big of a game. But that one is one couple weeks down the road. But the games this week that really are interesting to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the results are, would be Santa Clara at BYU. BYU's kind of been really inconsistent this year. They've been in a lot of games at home. They're usually very good, but they lost at home at the buzzer to St. Mary's. They lost in the final 8-9 seconds against Gonzaga when Julian Strother hit a pull-up three in transition. And if they're going to try to climb up into the 3rd or 4th seed going into the conference tournament, which is still possible, they can't lose at home to Santa Clara. And for Santa Clara, that would really kind of almost solidify them, in my eyes, as that 3rd seed. Mathematically, it wouldn't be solidified yet, but I wouldn't see them falling out of that 3rd spot. Then obviously Gonzaga at LMU is on Thursday as well. That one's a big one because Gonzaga was beaten by LMU. They broke their 75-game home winning streak. For all the reasons that we've talked over the last couple of weeks of how good Cam Shelton was in that game, what he did. Gonzaga players, I'm sure, have been stewing on that one, waiting for the rematch down in LA. And that'll be a big game on CBS Sports Network national TV. So that's a big game. And then the other big game has BYU involved in it again, and that's BYU at St. Mary's. As mentioned, that game went down to the wire. In Provo, I would not be surprised if it went down to the wire in Moraga, and that game will be on ESPN later this week. So all in all, it's been a topsy-turvy WCC season. When it looked like St. Mary's was running away with things after beating Gonzaga in overtime in Moraga, lo and behold, they slip up and give Gonzaga an opportunity to extend their conference title streak. But then you're seeing tremendous individual play from many guys that are doing everything they can to help their team jockey for position leading into the WCC tournament. Guys like Cam Shelton, I mentioned, Pajemski with Santa Clara, Marcellus Earlington's played well. BYU has had different guys at different times step up. Moses Wood and Christian Scholin for University of Portland. There's been a lot of really good performances. And so it's going to be fun to pick a WCC all-conference team this year. It's not going to be easy. So for Gonzaga Nation SI, this has been the WCC Weekly. I'm your host, Dan Dickau.